The Securities and Exchange Commission needs people with the expertise to oversee so-called crypto assets, like Bitcoin. The Government Accountability Office finds the agency needs to update its workforce planning strategy to ensure it has the crypto experts it'll need. More now from the GAO's Director of Financial Markets and Community Investment, Michael Clements. Mr. Clements, good to have you with us.
Pleased to be here, Tom.
And let's begin with what is the SEC's role with respect to these cryptocurrencies, which actually are any of them not a scam, I guess is the question.
To the extent that cryptocurrencies are securities, they would fall under U.S. securities law, for which SEC is responsible for enforcing. SEC has noted that many of these crypto assets are likely securities and therefore would fall under its remit.
And have they been doing that to date? I guess they have. They have some crypto expertise on board, did you find?
That is correct. We found that there's approximately 120 staff out of the 4,900 staffs at SEC who are crypto experts or who spend a predominant amount of their time working on those issues.
And in general, does the SEC have a workforce planning strategy?
In 2016, we had made a recommendation to SEC to develop a workforce plan, particularly looking at skills gap analysis. In 2019, SEC had taken steps to address that. In particular, they developed a competency survey to understand what the skills their staff had, and also they conducted what are known as human capital reviews, where we look at, okay, what skills do we need updating? What we did find is that SEC had not updated its workforce plan. Its last workforce plan ran 2019 through 2022. So in fact, we recommended in this most recent report that they update that workforce plan.
Is there any indication that the staff that they have now on the crypto beat, let's say, made any mistakes, or have they missed anything? I mean, SEC famously missed the Madoff affair many years ago. That was not a crypto situation, but it was brought to the agency's attention and nothing happened and so on and so forth. The rest is history. And then we had this FTX failure last year, a spectacular thing. Was the SEC on top of that, what the people had had?
The Commission has been engaged in a fair amount of outreach with the industry to let them understand what their obligations are. The Commission has issued a number of guidance documents to the industry to let them know, okay, who needs to register and under what conditions. And we can follow on that the Commission has taken enforcement actions. The Commission has brought over 130 enforcement actions against entities that have not registered in compliance with the securities laws.
Because these companies are selling basically investment instruments in something that actually doesn't exist. It's a hash somewhere on a piece of software hidden, somewhere on the internet, basically, is what you're investing in. But nevertheless, they have the mechanisms of investment as if it was a stock. Fair way to put it?
Correct. If the crypto asset meets the definition of a security, it is required to be registered. And any exchange that is trading those crypto assets need to be registered. In many instances, these crypto assets fall under what would be considered an investment contract, which is a type of security. And again, SEC in 2019 provided a framework for industry participants to be able to look at their crypto asset and decide, is this a security or not?
And just briefly, do you have any sense of the industry itself? I mean, is it like electric cars where there's a bunch of people jumping in a year? Most of them will be bankrupt and disappear, and there'll be a couple left standing, maybe Tesla, maybe one or two others. Is that how it is in crypto, where Bitcoin will still be there and the rest of them will fall away?
I don't know if I want to predict who might be here in 5 years or so. At this point, Bitcoin does have the most staying power, and in recent days, in fact, the Commission approved several spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds for folks who perhaps want exposure to Bitcoin but don't want to actually hold the Bitcoin themselves.
Sure. We're speaking with Michael Clements, Director of Financial Markets and Community Investment at the Government Accountability Office. And so what have you recommended for SEC?
So in the December report, we had three recommendations. First, as I'd mentioned, to update its workforce plan, align that plan with its strategic plan, which runs from fiscal year 22 through 26. Second, SEC has set up an office which is dedicated to crypto and really technology policy at large, which is called its FinHub. We had two recommendations there. First is to formalize its policies and procedures around its controls, just to make sure that it's in fact achieving its objectives. And then secondly, to develop performance goals and measures. It had not done so at this point. Again, just to help make sure that it's achieving what it's intended to achieve.
Yeah, these are the basics that you would have with any program that an agency initiates.
That is correct. FinHub is a relatively new entity. It started out in 2018 within the Division of Corporation Finance. It became a separate standalone office in 2020. Some of these foundational elements are still needed in terms of policies and procedures and performance goals.
And by the way, which areas of Congress tend to be interested in the SEC and what it's doing and with Bitcoin? Is there correspondence between the agencies that oversee SEC and also have to do with the cryptocurrencies themselves?
That's correct. So in Congress, the two main committees would be in the House, Committee on Financial Services. In fact, we did this work for the chairman, McHenry, of that committee, and also in the Senate, the Banking Committee. That said, in some cases, these cryptocurrencies and crypto assets could be considered commodities. In fact, Bitcoin is generally considered to be a commodity, in which case also the agriculture committees in both the House and Senate are involved.
Interesting. So it's both a financial investment instrument, a security, and it's also a commodity.
In the case of Bitcoin, the general thought is that is a commodity. There are other coins in crypto assets in general that are considered to be securities.
And I guess we assume this, but I should ask it directly. There are special technological information you need to know to be able to oversee what's going on in Bitcoin, because there is no physical commodity. I suppose in theory you could get a truck full of pork bellies. Not that anyone ever does, but someone, maybe a processing plant does. But no one ever takes physical possession of anything. It doesn't exist in time and space.
That's our sense that given the complexity of the technology, that it's important for, again, staff to have these expertise. In fact, that was one of the driving forces for SEC setting up the FinHub office in the first place.
And did the SEC generally agree with the recommendations you made, the three recommendations?
Yes, the SEC agreed and has committed to taking action to address all three.
Well, let's hope they help us avoid the next few FTXs potentially that could happen. Michael Clements is Director of Financial Markets and Community Investment at the GAO. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tom. My pleasure.
We'll post this interview along with a link to his report at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.